Hello everybody, welcome back to our weekly collective energy update for energetically sensitives and empaths. My name is Jona Bryndis and I'm broadcasting live from transCODES, squinty-eyed from Florida at this time. I'm wishing you a happy spring or fall equinox here from the sunny Florida. How are you guys? There's a new momentum coming in and there's new challenges coming in. But before we go into the collective energies here for the next week, 23rd till 29th of March 2018, I want to just send a few empowering and reassuring messages to you. I know that a lot of you have had this respiratory cold, head cold type of thing, and even if you thought you were already past it, it may have returned last week. And why do I talk about this so much? Because I want you to know that you're not alone. All right, this is the overall objective of these collective energy updates, because they help you to put things into perspective. You know, like when you experience things, and this may not be obvious for you, sometimes because, you know, you're just sort of so immersed in your own world that you can't really see what other people are going through, and sometimes because other people try to hide, you know, what they're truly feeling. And so by doing this energy work and having energy healing sessions and energy coaching sessions every day with people from all over the world, I get a really good picture here of what people that are, you know, that are not necessarily connected, say, you know, through the same place that they work or the same country that they're in, what they're experiencing. And so the purpose of these energy updates is not to give you a prediction or to motivate you to go into self-fulfilling prophecy. The purpose of that is to give you a little larger view, because energetically sensitives pick up on things before the mainstream does. And that's not special. That's not anything that needs to be judged in any way. It just is. And so very often we feel isolated or alone because we are just, you know, 10% of the population, roughly. All right. And so by giving you a little bit of a broadcast here of the data collection that I have throughout the week, I'm trying to empower you to, you know, not go into double guessing or self-doubting yourself. All right. So heads up. So if you got sick again, or if you thought you got through the winter without the head cold and now it finally got you, please don't judge yourself. Please don't go into this frustration with yourself. There is absolutely no judgment in retracting this kind of rotavirus that's been going on here in our collective planetary system. I barely know anyone who did not get sick. If you have not gotten sick at all, that's fine too. Then don't think that you're the last man standing and eventually it's going to catch up with you. No, you know, there are certain predispositions that we have that attract us to that kind of experience. And for most of us energetically sensitives, the experience wasn't so much you know, laying in bed and not being able to move, you know, experiencing this unbelievable tiredness, this unbelievable slowness of things. And if you've been following the energy updates here, then you know that I have recommended a few times to slow down. And the reason why I did this was to give you a heads up that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take a nap at the middle of the day. It's okay to not always be efficient, because if your etheric is going through something, and this has been going on the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's like physical exercise. It's like, you know, you going through a massive sort of shift of energy within yourself, and you have to show yourself some love in those times. And sometimes That means, just allowing yourself to slow down, allowing yourself, to get out of that robotic mode. Yes, got sick in Canada. I see you guys. This is live, so please use this opportunity to tell me where you're from, and smash the like button, of course, but also ask questions. All right, I'm going to take a little more time today because I've noticed that I've been rushing through the energy updates, and I still had to explain a lot in energy coaching sessions. So it's easier for me to do this once for everybody, and then we can look into the individual energies, the personal energies in these energy healing sessions. So anyway, yes, let me know where you're watching from. So those of you who felt this tiredness, guys, this is really important that you know this. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? You're going through etheric shifts, and you're just doing this in a way that is maybe easier for you to contextualize mentally, but physically you still have to, go through, the stuff that you mentally understand, and that means that you're going to be tired a little more. I'm expecting this to reside now, in the next week. I don't think that this is going to be the issue anymore. There's a brand new momentum coming in. You may have felt this. There was a huge shift last weekend. And, in the Northern Hemisphere where we had the spring equinox, of course, it brings, these energies of new beginning, a new start in, but it's kind of like a deflated start. Okay, so I don't want you guys to think that it's just you. There's this really weird sort of inner surge of energy. We feel fully charged, and then there's this, okay, and this is collective. All right, this is not just you, and don't get too frustrated, because the energies here this week and coming week can be tricky. All right, and if you look at the energy barometer here, it's like way beyond red. It's not a good sign. But remember, those are intensities. Those are not necessarily good or bad. So when it's in the red, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It just means that it's very intense, and that the people around you are going through a lot of irritability, irritations, aggressions, and frustrations, which you may go through as well. And that creates this sort of collective short fusedness. All right, so today here we want to talk about how we can work with this and counteract this a little bit. But let me come back to the frustration here and the irritability, because that's important to understand, what pushes us into this place. Many people have resonated with degradation, injustice, and betrayal in the last week, and this is something that has to do with how well we can trust in ourselves. So the less we can trust in ourselves, the more we externalize our inner power to others, or to, like, say, the government, or to the system, or to the outside. And that makes us susceptible. It makes us codependent as well. So there was a lot of codependent patterns here that resurfaced in the last week, and I can almost with certainty predict that next week is going to be like a repeat for many of you, going straight back into old patterns. And the reason for that is, we've talked about these unconscious coping mechanisms and so forth before. And if you hear this for the first time, I strongly recommend you that you go look up the 21 days here on my YouTube channel, where I explain all these different aspects and these different mechanisms of the human nature in detail. But when you get into this place where you are so stressed out and robotic that you don't really connect with yourself on a daily basis anymore, it is not that you that you, it's not showing you that you hate yourself or anything, but it can lead there because it makes you feel like you're not in touch with yourself, and that then leads to looking at what other people do, and leads to blaming, it leads to projecting things. And here you've got to be really careful next week, because there already is this spark in the air. Okay, there's a lot of this aggressiveness in the air. So this deflation that I talked about, right? It leads to people, want to get into a fight, wanting to confront, wanting to have the conflict so that they can release all their frustration. And for those who are not that aware about, these things, they can get in a lot of trouble. And so you need to watch this around you. So it's not necessarily just you, but you need to watch this when people get like sort of really, trying to poke you, trying to trip your triggers, trying to push your buttons. All right, this will happen this week, and this will also happen on a geopolitical level. So I'm actually expecting even more, stuff going on here in the geopolitical area, and perhaps even conflicts. Maybe not this coming week, but the week after that. There's a lot of intensity here right now, and it is the stupid kind. It's the kind of getting into trouble for over nothing. All right, so this is why I called this week's energy update "Talk the Walk." And what I mean with this is that you really need to go into self-reflection, into inventory with yourself. What are my needs? What do I need to feel safe? A lot of these degrading energies have to do with freedom and have to do with equality, okay? And when you know what you need, also territory, so space, all right? The space that you need. And space is not just a physical space, obviously. It's very often also the emotional space. Okay, hey, I need a timeout, I need, 15 minutes, or I need a day, or I need a week off. A lot of people heard me say this past week, hey, can you take a week off from work and just agree to not do anything, to just give yourself some space, and to just go into this inner silence again, where you can actually feel yourself again. Because most people don't know what they need. And that's why the communication is so difficult. And right now, that's like it's almost like a death sentence if you can't fully communicate what you need, because if you don't, others will take it. Others will take it. And so these energies of degradation and violated boundaries will force you to do this. If you don't do this, somebody else is going to do it. Okay, so use this awareness here, and if you need more time, or if you need more space to get there, then give yourself that space, explore that space. So talking the walk means communicate, all right, and set boundaries, and a lot of that will have to take place in the verbal this week, because see, the subtle, the level on which we like to communicate things won't work this week. All right, people will be too headstrong, they'll be too all right, and so you're gonna have to say things out loud and with a absolute clarity. And if you don't have this clarity within yourself, due to the lack of trust in yourself, that you even feel like you could, or you have the right to say this, then you need to work on this. So focus on that. How can you learn to trust in yourself? And guys, another reason why I called this energy report "Talk the Walk" is that this has a lot to do with the word, okay? The word that we give, the promises that we make, the word that we give to ourselves, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds, or yeah, I'm gonna start this new business, or yeah, I'm gonna quit my job. And then not doing it creates a really conflicted, fragmented energy within yourself, and that's gonna backfire these next couple of weeks. You've got to learn how to trust in your own word. And my suggestion to you is that you are very, very careful about these things, promises that you make and that you can't hold. It's easier to just say, hey, look, I know I promised I'm going to do this, but I just realized I honestly, I can't. So that you go into this clarity with yourself, and you know, even if it feels a little restricted for you right now, you know, but to only really commit to these things that you can commit to. And if you don't feel you can, then use, you know, the inner self-reflection and the inventory to prioritize and recalibrate yourself to what it is that you truly need. The mantra for this entire year of 2018, and the 2018 energies have now officially kicked in, okay, is I only do things that make me stronger, that make me feel safe, that make me feel loved, that make me fulfilled. And not in an egotistical sense, but in a sense of expressing self-love, expressing self-care and beauty. And beauty is part of my energy tips here for this week, because it's something, and I've experienced this myself. Beauty is a very high frequency healing resonance, and you know, especially when we go into this robotic or confrontative kind of energy, it usually sort of we lose beauty, we lose grace in the things that we do, in the way we experience our environment. And sometimes it's not because there isn't any beauty, because, you know, if you look around you, nature, you know, is full of beauty, full of beautiful colors, full of beautiful things to align yourself to. For me personally, it was music this week. I remembered how much music can help me to shift my energy, especially to connect with myself, to calm myself, or to energize myself. So to use these tools that can help you to reconnect within. And as you can reconnect within, you can become more clear about who you are, what you need, you know, and what isn't even true to you anymore, and then drop that. So this is, you know, this closure energy that I mentioned last week, you know, to, if you're not gonna go to the gym, or if you're not gonna change your diet, then drop the idea that you're gonna change something, you know, find different ways, all right? But don't make these empty promises to yourself, because they confuse your energy and they make it really, really difficult for you to stand your ground with the power that is needed to withstand, you know, the outer bombardment that is coming in. I hope this was clear what I was getting at, because next week's energy are going to be challenging for all of us, all right? But this doesn't mean that we all go into fighting with another or whatever. My fear is more that, or my concern is more that people go into this fighting themselves. Okay, so as for the physical, sorry, the physical sensations next week, I'm expecting people with a lot of issues around repressed energy, emotions. You know, like this holding in, okay, and sucking up and absorbing and not really expressing. So if you can just take this like talk the walk sort of paradox, you know, with you, to remind yourself to not hold in, to not go into this robotic thing, then you're pretty well equipped and you don't have to react to what other people do. You can respond. The energy tips this weekend, I've started something new here for you. You're going to like this. I've started writing it down for you, are mostly related to the chakras that are affected. So the chakras affected in this coming week are our lower chakras, all our lower chakras, first, second, third chakra, and the combination of fifth and sixth chakra. So the head cold and all this, the ears, eye, and facial skin stuff that people were going through, the sinus stuff and so forth, is going to continue here for a little bit, but probably like around Tuesday, Wednesday next week, that's going to go away. But the idea of six, the third eye and fifth chakra is that combination of clarity, vision, and expression, all right, to really go into this this unity here, to not like have these cool visions somewhere over there, mentalization, conceptualization of things, but then, not saying, not speaking up. This would be the worst thing you could do next week, because it's intensified, it's amplified here, what's going on between these two energy centers. And then the lower chakras, and if they come in this triple combo here, first, second, and third chakra, most of you who are doing a little bit of energy work already know what that means. That means there's a lot of upheaval here, and there's a lot of our coping, a lot of our karmic stuff coming back. There's a lot of, like all the things that make us human, all the things that make it so difficult sometimes to act according to our higher vibratory goals. They're going to come back up. But you guys should have enough practice, to feel this when this comes on. And I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. This is not anything that you need to resist. On the contrary, I want you to really go into accepting this fluctuation, accepting change. Just agree to change, and agree to that next week may be a little bit of an emotional week, all right? And the way to counteract this with energy work is to go and do a lot of stretching, physical stretching. Physical stretching will also lead to an expansion of your space in the etheric, okay? Last week we've experienced a lot of etheric stretching without the physical part, and so that felt a little awkward at times. But this week, I want you to really go into the physical stretching, so that your joints and your mobility apparatus stays flexible. You can do yoga, is really nice, and music. You can do a combination of all three. Painting and so forth can work for people as well. It depends what works for you, but I hope you get the idea here. It's about, opening up your physical, your emotional, and your mental, so whatever works best for you. Because I'm expecting a lot of issues with the gallbladder next week, also with the reproductive organs, but mostly with gallbladder, because that's, the repressed anger and this oppression energy that stores here. I would, as a preventative measure, recommend to decrease processed foods, and refrain from like too much gluten, too much dairy, too much refined sugar, and perhaps even if you can't, stay away from red meats. I'm being asked a lot of times, people ask, well, do you have to be a vegetarian, to easier adapt to this global awakening phenomenon? I don't think you have to. I think some people have a more natural propensity to not wanting to have meat at a certain consciousness level, and not just because of the way animals are being treated, or the perversion of the whole meat industry, but it just doesn't resonate that well with us anymore. So it makes us too heavy. It makes us too too stuffed in a way. The reason why I recommend to stay away from red meats, especially if it's not organic, this week, is because there's a lot of fear stored in those animal meats. Right? There's a lot of torture, fear, and cruelty in there, and we already have enough floating around in the collective this week. So I would suggest you don't ingest that on top of it. Yes, and hi New Zealand, hi Trinidad. Thank you guys for coming. It's always good to have you here. Makes me feel a bit more like home. Yes, and besides the staying away from the red meats, you know, increase your raw fruits and vegetables. It will help you to clear out your system a bit. It adds fiber, and it's generally more nutritious. So we're still, you know, with the subject of self-love and self-nurturing, and you know, cooking nice meals, and really paying attention to the ingredients. All that will help you to tune into your self and self-love, right? Less caffeine, yeah, I hate to say it. I'm an espresso addict, but this week is a week where you may want to switch to green teas or even chamomile tea, because there's already so much first and second chakra activation going on. It links directly into autonomous nervous system, you know, into our adrenaline and cortisol. Sorry. Household neurotransmitter balance, that the more caffeine you drink, especially in combination with sugar, the more you are prone to these short-fused reactivities. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When you feel very irritable, then maybe, you know, reduce the caffeine and just take it a little easy on those stimulants, right? Chamomile and lavender as sort of herbal support here for this next week will work well for you in form of teas, in form of essences, in form of essential oils, you know, whatever works for you, whatever is acceptable for you. Stay open and stay fair. This is, you know, when it comes to the emotional aspects of this next week, you know, there's so much frustration and so much distrust in the air that it can restrict the way we see others, and it can make us unfair as well. But just remember that the majority of issues, especially in relationships, has to do with assumptions and misunderstandings. And so if you can, despite your own emotionality, you know, at least remind yourself to stay open for how the other person feels, you know, then that can help you to get through this without major conflicts. All right. Also, you know, understand that there's a lot of loneliness coming towards us right now. So with the lack of inner connection, the lack of trust in self, and the lack of self-love, there's also this loneliness. So maybe seek the company of like-minded. All right, here at transCODES, we have a wonderful workshop going on Saturday, do a combination of energy work and live webinar, where we talk about these patterns that we carry in us, and how they're related to karma and what that even means. You know, these things can greatly help you to release some of that isolation when you talk to others about subjects that most people regard as woo-woo and kind of think you're a little nuts. So find people that you can talk to openly, all right? As far as the mental aspects of next week is concerned, you know, remember that whenever we get into this reactivity, whenever we get into this tight spot with ourselves, our discernment goes down, and it can actually block us. It can actually create massive illusions too. Like the way we see things can be like really foggy, okay? Not just murky foggy, but like completely off the charts, like not seeing or not being able to see truth. All right, so keep this in mind. Okay, I would say take everything next week with a grain of salt. All right, and wait. I've already said this last week. It's not the time to make big decisions yet. Okay, wait till like Tuesday or Wednesday. And even if you feel like you are in a good spot there with self-honesty and self-trust, remember that most other people aren't. Yes, there's a quick question here. During the true self, I had a really sharp discomfort, like an urgency on the right side. What is this about? Is this about new energies also? The true self that you're referring to is the monthly free session that we have here at transCODES, which happened like 36 hours ago. And I don't know how bad it was and how low it was, but if it was sort of in that area of, sort of underneath your rib cage, like between your hips and your rib cage, this indicates to me that you are feeling the effects of repressed anger, of repressed emotions, and this can be extremely painful, guys. That's why like gallstones, can be one of the most painful things. And new energies, I mean, we have a constant fluctuation of energies, but this is pretty intense here for this next week. So there could be a link to these new things that are coming in. See, when I say, expect this to happen, what I mean is, that collective energies are going to steer you into this. All right. It's not as negative as it sounds at first. It's more like the unraveling of oppression and of repression is being supported, which gives us an opportunity to heal, gives us an opportunity to look at these things, right? So it's a translation of that, and we feel the unraveling on all these different layers of our energy body, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic. And so by doing, by breaking this down for you guys, I'm trying to help you to locate these things. And most of us, especially females, are more tactile. So we're going to feel things in the physical or in the emotional first. But then there's also the aspect here of, having absorbed a lot of energies. And so it's a bit... it's two things, Andrea. It's the repression of the past, okay, and the need to fully let this out, okay. And when this these patterns that we have, when they prevent that from happening, then it comes it creates a jam, an energetic jam in us, like a block. Okay, so mentally this would express as an illusion or as a blind spot. Emotionally that would express as in there's certain things that we simply don't allow ourselves to feel. And so we'll have lots of justifications and a lot of stuff around that prevent us from actually going there. Physically, it can play out with these like really stabbing pains in some of our internal organs. Or, depending on what these collective energies are and what the energies are that we have been repressing, severe issues in our joint, in our back, in our spine, or, these head things that we had with the 6th and 7th chakra here in these last 5 weeks. So I wouldn't say that you can link everything back to collective energies. I would say that the collective energies really just provide the canvas. They provide sort of an overall tendency, and then there's a higher likelihood with which you can expect things to unravel. Try to feel this out a bit more and email me if you're getting concerned. All right, hope this answered the question. Socially and relationship wise, guys, you probably already have a feeling for that. Don't take anything for granted, guys, and don't become degrading. Other people may become degrading, and other people may feel like they are not appreciating you, or they're taking things that you do for granted. Don't go into the black and whiteness of it. You're still in the renegotiation phase of your relationship right now. It would be much smarter to, talk the walk, to sit down and say, hey, can I have a talk with you? This is something I really, really need to get off my chest. And let's come up with a little bit of a plan here, how we want to approach this. We don't need to have a fix yet, but how we want to approach this. So stay open, all right? Spiritually, I would suggest for this week that, we remind ourselves to appreciate all experiences as learning experiences, and therefore not to condemn them as into like positive or negative experiences, and like maybe become a bit more creative. What really works for people is to challenge their egos a bit. Challenge your ego. Do the complete opposite of what you would do in a situation, and that allows you to open up these hardwired patterns in you. And energetically, it's going to be easy this week. Align yourself to beauty, align yourself to gratitude. Really seek the beauty, and if you can't find beauty in the outside, then create it. All right, create it. And don't forget to express your needs in the process of that. All right. I wish you guys a peaceful week next week. Those of you who want to learn how to feel these chakra energies a bit more, we have a learning how to read your own energies, a chakra session tomorrow here at transCODES. These energy sessions are from home. This is a guided session, goes really, really deep, very well suited for beginners. And if you would like to get a free chakra chart from me, like how to work with some of these things that you discover in your energy field, like what could you do physically, or what activities could you do to help this heal, then please email me at Jona@transcodes.com. I have a beautiful chakra chart that shows you how to work with these different energy centers. All right. I hope to see some of you here in a couple of minutes with the Crypto Spiritual Weekly, where I'm going to translate these collective energies into what it can do for us in the financial and cryptocurrency market. And once more, go to the transCODES website if you would like to know how to sign up for sessions. Our sessions are all public. You can also book private sessions, of course, or energy coaching sessions with me. Look all this up on my website. And if you want to enjoy the free energy coaching lessons that I've published here on YouTube, then look for the 21 days breaking through the matrix. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Love you guys. Hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.